I find it ironic that one of my favorite trail segments is called Corona. Yep, socially distancing by the pool. So just like everybody else, the coronavirus pandemic is causing a lot of disruption too. Personally, I've been feeling a little bit of depression and sadness, and I saw a great interview on TV a couple days ago from a psychologist who explained these feelings come from kind of a mourning of normalcy, and I think that's exactly for me what's going on, is mourning for normalcy. So I'm going to push through and offer you up this lightweight video. We're going to do a product review, and it's not stunning, but just sit by and relax, and maybe you can put this computer on your Christmas shopping list. So we got a little help here from the Wiener Dogs. So for the 3 or 4 of you that may have watched my mountain biking videos from Crested Butte, this is a Garmin 800 biking computer. I've had this computer for about 7 years. A quick back of the napkin calculation, I ride about 2,000 miles a year. So it's like 14,000 miles, more than halfway around the earth. I actually feel that I could, with a little bit more than a back of the napkin calculation, probably pulling all the data off this here unit, I could probably even prove that I ride quite a bit more than that. But the point about this computer is it uses GPS, offers some really great data capture, including speed and altitude and percent grade and such, but it's integrated. And it was state of the art at the time that I bought it. And I have to point out that the unbelievable thing about this computer is this has been frozen, hailed on, drowned, rained on, baked, and all of the mileage that this little computer has clocked is all bad road, all of it. I think it's extraordinary that you could find a consumer grade product that does what this does, with a speedometer, GPS based, no little wires, charging every single day for 7 years, bad road, and the abuse that it's taken, and it's just been indestructible. I personally prefer bike computers that are integrated because the phone that I'm using presently to film this is an iPhone 11, and it's about a $1,200 phone. This unit was in the hundreds, so should it have met a terrible end, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Fred, on the other hand, likes to roll with a phone, as you've seen with his quad lock solution. So there's different ways to go in life. But alas, recently I turned this poor thing on and it entered an emergency diagnostic mode. It appears that it's finally ridden its last mile. So enter the Garmin Edge 1030. This is the latest state-of-the-art bicycling computer. It hooks into your phone. It has Wi-Fi. It supports some apps. It also has these little applets that let you do a bit of reskinning if that's kind of what you're into. So let's get started with an unboxing and we'll take a look at this thing. All right, we got our nifty little production studio going here, so I can do an unboxing for you on our new Garmin Edge 1030. So this is a color computer, and I have to say the color in broad daylight on this computer is gorgeous, and the backlight color when it's dark, not so much. So we're going to pull off our protective film here. So the new unit is quite a bit thinner than the old one was. Got a bigger screen, and it has pause and start buttons down here, plus the charging port, a little mini USB, and it has also kind of a quad lock connector on the back. So the box, we get a nice selection of rubber bands and doodads and widgets to attach to the bike, including kind of this barfly solution. So I roll with a little quad lock solution with these little gaskets hooked onto my stem, so we'll show some video of that. And of course a mysterious device that nobody ever uses called the instruction manual. So, all right. Okay, so as soon as we turn the unit on, it's going to go through a little setup procedure. So I'm going to pick English, and then we're going to do the phone setup. So we're going to go to the Garmin Connect app, Garmin devices, add device. Okay, we're pairing up. We can see that the device comes with 2 apps already installed. So these are called, one of them is called Best Bike Split and the other one's Strava Routes. I don't care for these apps personally, so as soon as they're done updating, as soon as you turn the device on, it's going to start updating everything. So we're going to remove those. You can also install widgets that reskin the front of your device so it'll look a little bit more like you can have different kinds of graphs and charts. Also, you can install applications. So from here, I'm definitely going to install the TrailForks app. And now this is queued. Now this thing is done downloading, and go into my device apps, and I can finally get rid of Best Bike Split. Woohoo! And then on TrailForks, that's the one that I wanted. So we are now all healthy. System updates have been applied. I've removed the apps I don't want. I've installed the apps I do want. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a demo. I'm doing this in broad sunlight, so forgive any reflections, but I really wanted everybody to see the beautiful color that this unit has and how good the contrast is in broad daylight, which is mostly how I ride. So the unit has a little button here. It's how you turn it on. There's 2 buttons on the bottom. There's a start-stop button, and there's a pause button. There's also a micro USB charging port. So when we hold this button down for a second to turn the unit on, the Garmin uses both American and Russian satellite systems. So the more satellites you have in the sky, the faster it will lock onto those satellites. And for sure, the old unit, you can see, in fact, it connected instantly. So that's pretty fantastic. And so I've got this set up for mountain biking only. I'll give you an example of kind of what the color looks like on this unit. We can pop over to a map here and just see just broad daylight, really, really beautiful color. So, and you can go into the IQ app here and you can find out apps that you have installed. And I pulled off those other 2 apps that came pre-installed, and I chose instead to install TrailForks. And so When you try to bring this app up, it does ask you to log into Trailforks. And so we can go, for example, to nearby routes. So you can see that it's grabbing GPS coordinates, which is pretty nifty, right, to kind of show you. So for example, we're close to Haas, which is a pretty neat little trail network here. So you can leave the applets area here, and once you start riding, the unit will actually sense that there's motion and automatically start a new route and record everything that you're doing. And then when you finish the ride and you press the stop button, it'll complete the ride and then upload it automatically to the phone. And we'll include a little bit of video about that beautiful experience on the UI. I think they really did a great job. To turn the unit off, you can just hold this button here. And I wish that it would just power off when you did that. That's what the old unit did. This one instead asks you if it just wants to sleep or power it off completely. So we're going to choose power off. And now the unit is off. So the next thing I'm going to show you is when you start riding this, the Garmin will show you various bits of data on the screen. And I'm kind of picky about what I like to show. I typically, I want information like a percent grade, speed is one of the most important ones, time. So the way that you do that is we're going to pick our activity profiles here. And so for each profile, I'm assuming they think that you might want different data depending on the kind of profile, which I suppose is reasonable. So we're going to go into, for our mountain biking area here, into our data screens. And I'm going to pick screen 1 here and layout of data fields. So I don't much care for this layout, so I'm going to pick, I like as much data as possible. So this is more my style, like number 9 here. So now that I'm done customizing all my fields, I can show you what I've picked. So we have current speed in miles per hour, average speed for the whole ride, the total ascent for this ride, a current temperature, which is pretty neat. There's a thermometer built right in, a timer for how long the ride's been going, distance covered for that ride, the current time of day, current elevation, and the current percent grade. So now that I've shown you all my fields, let's get this thing out onto the trail. I'm going to show you what it's like to put this on the bike, and then what it's like to ride with. So I've got the camera pointed right at the computer. So this is how I mount the Garmin up to my bike. You can see that it's come with kind of these little rubber mounts that are similar to rubber bands, and they hook around the receptacle that accepts this quad lock. And you can put these little rubber gaskets underneath and give this thing as much vertical height as you need, so that when you mount the computer, it won't interfere with any pieces of the stem. And you just take the quad lock and twist, and it gives it a nice solid mount. And in 7 years, not one time with the 800 did this ever fail me. When you're riding, you get a few screens. You got your data screen, which we've already covered, and you get your little map screen there, and you can zoom in and stuff to see where you're at. And you can see it even shows the trail that we're on, which is pretty sweet. We never used to get that on the 800. And an elevation profile. Since I've reset the ride for this demo, it's not showing our elevation profile, but you get a nice little graph. And a little compass. Then back to normal. I'll do a little climb here. See what kind of grade we got going on. Looks like about 8%. Not bad. Oh, more like 14%. That's like a cool 9% descent there. So far we've climbed 780 feet. I love how stable this quad lock is on this kind of terrain. Chunky Arizona stuff. So it looks like we were hitting about 15 miles an hour on that downhill. Alright, I'm going to show you guys what it's like to synchronize when you're done with the ride. So we're going to stop our ride and hit save. And I'm going to head over to our Garmin Connect and synchronize that sucker. Now what we're doing is we're synchronizing. Okay, so when we're done synchronizing, you get some really awesome stuff here. Tell us how many miles we did, how many cups of hydration our goal should have been. You can pick and see how much time it took. Our distance today was about 11.5 miles, about 1,000 calories. You can take a nice look at the map, see where we rode, which is pretty sweet. And I think they really did a beautiful job with the user interface on this thing. And all kinds of statistics, average speed, moving speed, and so on. And little charts. So that's our elevation profile and the temperature during the ride. Really an amazing little app. Then you can log into Garmin Connect online, and you can also look at this stuff online, and you can download the GPX files if you want to. I thought I would go for a little bit of extra credit at the end of this video. One of the most common questions that people ask us about our YouTube channel is how we do some of those flyover maps. So I'm going to show you how I do that with the Garmin Edge. So what I've done is logged into a Garmin Connect, and you can see it has a nice little control panel here. It shows me I've added a device. Since January when I got it, it shows me how much mileage I've done total. Looks like a couple hundred miles, not bad. So the first thing I need in order to do a flyover map is I need some GPS data. So I'm going to head over to my activities, and I'm going to pick one of my favorite rides that Fred and I do, and that's this North Phoenix Preserve. So I'm going to download the GPX file for this, and the GPX file contains GPS data. Now I happen to know that Google Earth is going to want a KMZ or KML formatted data. So I'm going to use a tool real quick to convert that file. So I'm going to pick that activity and convert it to a Google Earth KML file. And I'll post a link for this little utility. It's really, really handy. So once I've exported my KMZ file, I can head over here to Google Earth Studio. And Google Earth Studio is free. Anybody can sign up for it. So we've got an account set up for our channel. So we're going to set up a demo project. I'll call it North Phoenix. And 4K 60. And the next thing I'm going to do is roughly position the camera where I know where our route is going to be, so I know it's close to Cave Creek. And then the next thing I want to do is bring in our KMZ. Okay, so here we go. And so you can see that there's our route. We can move the camera around holding Alt, we can spin. And so the way the software works is it uses what it calls keyframing. So a keyframe just sets a place where the camera is, and then when you set another keyframe, this software will interpret between those 2 points. So it gives you kind of these nice swooping views. So I'm going to start out pretending like we're going to do a ride like this. And I'm going to start with a keyframe here. And you don't have to do, you know, super fine grain controls, but now you can see I've moved our keyframe control here, and I'm going to set another point and then advance our keyframes a little bit here. And just to give you an example, I'll make sure that the camera spins a little bit here. Okay, so now that I have all the keyframes set, you can do a preview. And so this will go very quickly, but now what we're going to do is render. So I really have to hand it to Fred. So you know, like you see those squirrels and they put a nut in their mouth and then another one, and they just keep stuffing them in. Fred's like that, but with stuff. He's the kind of guy where you say, hey, Fred, you got a spare fusion reactor laying around? He's like, yeah, it's in the back. We'll have to dust it off. So I told him I wanted to do this production about the bike computer, and he's like, oh, all right, well, let me get you all the stuff. So look at this. He's got all the tripods, all the lights, all the GoPro mounts. Fred's amazing.